This is the Rigaku SmartLab 3K. It's one of our newer machines and it's basically like a Swiss Army knife of diffractometers. We have a range of different components that go with the system that act as primary source optics. So we have things like the CBOF here. CBOF is a parallel beam focusing optic that takes a line source and converts it into a point source, so that when we pass it through the collimator assembly, we have a nice homogeneous beam. We also have the germanium 220 primary monochromator. This is actually two germanium crystals that are arranged in a set geometry so that the diffraction path that comes off these two crystals gives us pure K-alpha-1 radiation. And we have a whole range of parallel foils or solar slits, if you wish. The diffractometer itself, this is going to get a little bit beepy, has a range of detectors. So I'll just talk you through the system in general. We've got over here the X-ray source. This is a copper K-alpha tube, so we get K-alpha-1, K-alpha-2, and K-beta emission from the tube. And then we have our primary optic here, which is called a CBO. That's a cross-beam optic, and this allows us to take direct beam through the system or to take beam coming off a surface of a mirror, which means that we can either have a focusing geometry or we can have a parallel beam geometry. After that, we have our solar slits that help with our axial divergence. We have a mask array and an automated slit assembly. We have our sample, and as we move to the detector side, we have, in this case, because we're in focusing geometry, we have a nickel filter which helps remove the K-beta radiation from the source. We then have a series of solar slits, and then in this case we have our 2D detector, which is currently set up for 1D operation. So the optics I showed you at the very beginning, they replace this component here and this component, depending on which operating mode we're running in. And the detector itself, these optics can be removed and brought to the front so we can collect two-dimensional images rather than using one-dimensional images for our data analysis. And that's the Rigaku SmartLab.